People of Interest is sponsored in part by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which seeks to improve the health and healthcare of all Americans, which in hindsight seems pretty unlikely, but god damn it if we aren't committed to this.
Earlier this month, the highest court in Europe, the European Court of Justice, ruled that search engines such as Google or Bing must remove links containing outdated or otherwise objectionable information about a person that may negatively impact his or her life if said person requests its removal, unless the search engine can show cause for it remaining online. This is in keeping with the so-called right to be forgotten concept included in the European Union's European Data Protection Directive. While most jurists here in America believe that the right to be forgotten mostly flies in the face of the First Amendment, my next guest, Dan Truman, believes that a similar system should be in place here in America that still adheres to the First Amendment. He calls it the right to rewrite, which would allow a person to change any information on the web to reflect the way he or she remembers it. Truman has just recently filed a lawsuit to begin this process. Dan Truman, welcome.
Hey, that's Dot Truman. I didn't know if my publicist got it to you, but I prefer to be called Dot Truman here and forevermore. Danny is in the past. We do not want no more Dannys.
I apologize, Dot. I believe it must have been rewritten. I have a hard copy.
It's okay. If you would look me up on Wikipedia 4 days ago, it would have said Danny. That's the internet moves like spaceships. Fast.
Now, this initiative that you're putting together, what would you say? What was the genesis? What was the moment that really caused you to come up with this idea?
Well, have you ever been at a bar late at night and had a few too many drinks, but not enough money to get a cab home, and you had annoyed all your friends, so you had no one to give you a ride home? And then you go for a ride in your car. And then you crash into a telephone pole, tree, mailbox, and elementary school. I know this is a common occurrence for most listeners. But that's happened to me 4 times in the early 2000s.
Right.
It's 2014.
Right. 10 years.
10 years ago. We do not need to live with our mistakes for the rest of existence. We are a society where people can change. But Google, Mark Zuckerberg, and people like Tom from MySpace won't stop letting the past choke our existence. We have the right to be forgotten here. And that's what I want to be. No more Dannys. Dots forever.
So now you really see your right to rewrite movement as sort of a loophole, but you still are sort of an adherent to the right to be forgotten concept.
As all pencils and pencils have erasers. As all keyboards have backspaces. As all text messaging T9 functions first ask you to click the button before you choose if you want to say Yahoo or Yahtzee. Right, of course. We are in a society where mistakes are easily rewritten. I just want to get rid of some DUIs, maybe some Megan's Law incidences, a couple girlfriends I might have called too late, too often, through their bedroom windows, and some pizzas I didn't pay for. I just want those things to go away.
I think, that's understandable, but some people might argue that, that's knowledge that they might like to know.
You mean like people who said they're going to be my fiancés and will live with me forever, but then they Googled me for 4 seconds and decided, hey, I don't want to marry someone who's on Megan's Law. You mean people like that?
Yeah,
losers?
That might be one example. Also, a lot of politicians are seeking to do this, and voters feel they have the right to know, the person they're elected.
Listen, if I'm a politician and I get elected in the 60s, and I'm deciding that maybe I don't like, let's say, candy. Okay? And everybody loves candy. But like the voters in my district in the 60s, they won their pro-candy. 45 years later, should I be blamed for my candy policy 8 decades ago? No, that's ludicrous. No one cares about candy in 2014. That's logic you cannot refute.
I suppose not.
That's not logic.
That is to the extreme. So, your candy. So nobody likes candy anymore, is what you're saying.
No one likes candy anymore. No one cares what you wrote to your 4th grade teacher in blood while putting the letter into an oven to give the historic fringes that you need around it. No one cares what that is. That's the past. Dots live in the future. Future wives live in the future. We have the right to be forgotten.
Interesting. Now, a lot of online publications feel that this is putting a burden on them. That they're now going to have to go into their archives and change stories. Do you feel that what do you think? What do you say to them?
All I know is that media companies are making lots of money. They're succeeding beyond, they're printing bullshit Ben Franklin every day. If I am running something like HuffPo, like USAToday.com, like Yahoo News, I have a little bit of chump change left in the sheets to hire a couple of people to go onto forums and delete shit that shouldn't be there. It's simple. As a society, we can't worry about what urban business will have to do. Do you think that the founding fathers of our country worried about murderers? How what a difficulty it's going to be for murderers if we say they can't kill people? No, killing is wrong. Just as allowing crimes of your past to exist on the internet, it's the exact same thing.
Well, that's sort of an interesting question. A lot of people, it is a safety issue. You brought up Megan's Law, now you're bringing up murder. Shouldn't people have the right to know if, say, a murderer is moving into their neighborhood?
If a person doesn't like their soccer coach and they feel like they're not getting playing time 15 years ago, and that person's been dead for 14 years, what difference does it make if they move into your neighborhood? Does that mean that person won't pay their condo association dues? Does that mean that person won't volunteer to write the condo association newsletter? They would be flattered to be asked to do that. I feel like it's irrelevant at this point.
Now, the right to rewrite does have people concerned that people can go in and change the past sort of willy-nilly, as long as they were somehow involved. For instance, Walter Mondale could go back and say that he won the right in 1980.
Sure. Well, all I know is that after 1984, Challenger happened. And maybe if President Mondale was at the helm, Challenger wouldn't have happened. So maybe we would live in a better world today if Reagan didn't blow up the Challenger ship. Walter Mondale, it seems like has the right idea here. And whatever Ronald Reagan is doing today, it doesn't seem like he has the same gumption that Mr. Mondale does. I wish he was the president 25 years ago.
But if you change it to say that if you go back and alter, all news stories of the 1984 presidential election and have Walter Mondale win, then you've effectively changed the past.
We've changed the past. And in that same 1984 election, Geraldine Ferraro was the vice president. That means we would have had a vice president who was a woman 26 years ago. And that would be a better America today, if you ask me.
I would like to point out that those things did not happen. So if the Challenger didn't blow up, the Challenger did explode, and those 4 astronauts did die. So if we change the past, it's not going to bring them back.
No, but if I was a son or daughter of a Challenger astronaut who died, and I Googled my father, or mother, and I saw the day they were born, and then a dash, and then no day, and then there was no date when they died. And even though I knew they were dead, I would feel a little better about myself. Just thinking for a second that my dead mom or dad might be alive. We have the right to forget that the harsh realities of life exist. And that's all I'm pushing.
Well, Doc Truman, thank you so much for being here.
Actual support for People of Interest is brought to you by Philly Improv Theater, Philly's home for comedy. In addition to shows every week of the year, PHIT offers classes in improv, sketch, and stand-up. For more information, visit phillyimprovtheater.com.